Good morning everyone, it is Monday morning, so that means it's time for our resistance band or weights class. So resistance band ideally, weights if you haven't, there's lots of things that we can do as an alternative with weights. If you are using weights however, could you make sure that you pick them up and put them back down safely? So if you come into a squat, bring the weight close to your body and push back up. So just light weights, 1 kilogram, 2 at the very most. You don't really need to go higher than 1. A couple of tins out the cupboard would do. Wrap your fingers around and then hold the weight thumbs forwards. So we're not wrapping that thumb round, that creates tension in the elbow joint. The thumb is forwards. Same when you put them back down, hold them close, come into your squat, place them down out of your working area. So everyone, making sure that you have got a nice, safe, clear working area, and remembering that you are taking part in this class at your own risk. So please do make sure that you listen to any modifications. There is some balance work in here today, so if balance isn't your strong point, you can leave that out, or maybe this isn't the right class for you and you might be better doing maybe one of the level 1 mat classes later in the week. So if you have a resistance band, before we start, could you please check your band for me? So just hold it up and have a quick look down the edges for any little nicks or tears, because if you have got any and then you pull on that band, it might well snap, and that wouldn't be good. So we're checking all over, just down both sides. Right, so I've got a medium one and I've got a light one. So the light one, for me, it's better for upper body. The medium one is better for stretches and for lower body work. You can do these exercises without. So if you're trying it with the band and it doesn't feel good, pop the band down, just do the same movement but without the resistance band. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so do listen to your bodies, look after yourselves. Right, so they're safely out of my working area. I'm not going to trip over them. We've got plenty space and we are ready to start. So we're going to come into our good standing posture. Let's just check that our toes are level, our feet are parallel, and that we are hip distance apart. So you want to feel like those thigh bones settle into the sockets in the hips and the pelvis. Okay, so rather than being out slightly wide, and you don't get that same feeling of settled, sat onto the bone, or too narrow. You want to be directly under. Feel that they sit nicely. Okay, checking the feet, that we have arches lifted, you've got even pressure through each foot, so just check you're not just stood into one side. Are we even through both feet? And that you're even back to front, but also across the foot. So if your arch is lifted, you should feel that you're stood in the centre of your heel rather than the inside edge of your heel. Okay, from there, let's make sure our kneecaps are soft and our pelvis is in neutral. So thinking about taking that breath out, drawing up from the pubic bone right the way up to the rib cage and growing taller. That means we can get a really good switch on. Bottom rib is down, and then let's switch on all the way up to the throat, so the chin is back over the collarbones, slightly nodded. Let's take those shoulders up, inhale. Now exhale, could you roll them back and down and think about squeezing the shoulder blades together and pulling them down your back rather than jamming down into your armpits. So focus on the movement of the shoulder blades, coming up and round. Now lightly squeeze them together and pull them down the back. The armpits shouldn't feel too tense, so back of the armpit here, if you're just pulling down there, you're using some different muscles. Maybe make that circle smaller. See if you can get the shoulder blades moving. Let's do one more. Big breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Okay, Keeping that chin back and keeping the feet flat on the floor, toes down, heels down. Let's go into a little sway forwards and back. We're not making it too big. Feet are staying down, so really watch for those toes, or maybe just one toe, wanting to lift as you go back. Starting to feel that you're getting some activation into the core, back muscles, abdominal muscles, maybe even your hips and glutes switching on. One thing I'd like you to be aware of though is your knees. As you go back, are they locking? See if you can do that without the knees locking, and just feel what switches on a bit more if you do that. Let's go one more time forwards and back. And then balanced evenly through the feet. Right, let's start to add in a little swing of the arms. Just nice long even breaths. I'd like you to make sure that you're getting that 360 breath in through the nose, all the way around the rib cage. And you might feel a little bit of a swing of the body. Let's allow the shoulders to start to softly turn. Just a little bit, as they naturally would, swing side to side. Now if it's okay with your spine, so no osteoporosis, osteopenia, disc issues, we're going to make that a little bit bigger now. Can you turn your hand, turn the shoulders, breath in. Is that shoulder stayed down? Let's swing back, exhale, inhale, exhale. You might notice that there's a bit of change in the pressure in your feet. That's alright. But let's stay really pulled up tall so that we get that core activated, getting some nice rotation here, turning the rib cage and down. Let's take a breath in, stretch up. Reach out wide and down. Okay, we want to go a little bit side to side now. We'll start off with foot pedals, we're going to build it up. Let's wake up those feet. Can you lift that heel and press forward into your toes for me? Back down, changing sides, and down. Now as we're doing this, hips are staying level, there's no hitch. Okay, and I'm pressing into my second toe. That's going to help me track that knee forwards rather than going into my little toe and the knee goes out. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger. Can we pick up that knee? Up onto the big toe, point your toes down towards the floor, lift up and down. Peel up. So even though we're going side to side, we're changing our centre of gravity. What we don't want to do is sit into that hip. Stay really pulled up. Peeling up, stretching the toe down towards the floor. Let's not forget about those feet. Stretch and down. One more and then we are going to go side to side. Okay, both arms into that knee lift. And now we're going to step it out to the side, come into a squat. Knees over toes, pull back up tall, lift the knee. Step it out, come into that squat. Push up, lift the knee. Step it out, squat. Lift the knee, one more. And lift. Now you're going to step that leg out, take the arms into Cossack, keep pulling up on that standing side. Let's lift that leg out. 8, 7, 6, knee pointing forwards. 4, 3, 2, 1. And bring it all the way in. Lovely, let's go straight to the other side. We're standing tall and peeling up, stretch that foot down to the floor. Let's step it out, come into a squat. Sending those hips back, keeping the spine long. Can you pick it straight back up without dragging it along the floor? That's the challenge. A neutral spine as we squat, we're not flexing there. No rounding of the shoulders or the spine. And pulling up. One last one. Now let's pull up. Take the leg out to the side, arms to Cossack. Pull up. Let's lift and tap. 8, 7, knee pointing forwards. 5, 4, keep lifting up through that hip. 2, and 1, and down. Okay, fantastic. Right, we're going to grab a band now, or your weights. So if you've got a choice of bands, light one will be perfect for this. Now, we're going to start with a little bit of bicep work. So, back to hip distance, you've got the band under one foot and coming up the outside of the body. We're going to hold that band, palm facing inwards, thumb up. Okay, let's bring the elbow back towards the ribs but not into them. So slightly out and forwards. I'm going to bring that arm down. Now exhale, you're going to bring that wrist up towards the shoulder. And down. I need a bit more welly than that. Okay, pull. Now you might start to feel as you're doing this some activation in this side. So the opposite side of your core is trying to stabilise you. It's resisting because you've got that tension and pull on the other side. We're going to go for 4 more. Staying really tall. Just 2 more. One last one. Okay, really good. Now let's take the leg slightly diagonally back. And we're going to carry on. So I'm going to take that other hand into the small of the back, just tucking it out of the way, shoulder open, curl. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest it down, take a breath in. Just notice that your hips are square for me. You haven't travelled with that leg. Knees pointing forwards. And I'd like you to step onto that front leg so that you've got no weight on that back leg. Okay, as we do our bicep curl, you're going to lift that toe off the floor. Lift. And it's going slightly diagonally back. Can you feel that glute fire up? Pulling up tall. And 3, 2, and 1. Fantastic, let's come in. We'll go to the other side. So, just give it a little pull, make sure it's under secure. Not going to ping out. Starting off just stood nice and tall. Thumb up, grabbing that band with the fingers, chin back. And let's just take that curl up to the shoulder. So you're just testing the resistance here. Do you need a bit more, a bit less? Do you want to do it without the band? We're going to do 3 more. And one last one. Okay, taking that leg diagonally back. Hips are still square, pulling up tall, shoulder back, and curling. Keep breathing through long, deep breaths. 2 more. Okay, if you'd like to, adding in that lift with the toe. So we're really pulling up now. Lift. Spread those toes out and pull up through the hip. Can you feel this glute fire? Exhale. Let's keep that connection rib to hip. So it's not our back arching to lift that leg. Last 2. And 1. Fantastic. Okay, coming in. Let's step the feet now into tandem stance. You could just have your feet together if tandem stance seems a little bit too challenging at the moment. So feet tight together, or could you step heel to toe? Finding yourself balanced through the feet, so you've got the same pressure in each foot. We're not just stood on the front leg or the back leg, we're even straight through both feet. Elbows are next to the waist, not tucked into it, free. Shoulders wide, chin back. Let's take a breath in and we're going to pull apart. Now, shoulder issues, you might want to do this without the band. Or if it feels okay, this can actually be a very, very good rehabilitation exercise. Now, as you exhale, could you think about squeezing your thighs together and lifting your pelvic floor? Inhale. Big breath in, exhale. As though you're blowing through a straw. Exhale. Squeeze those thighs together and pull really tall. So the more you pull up, the more your core is going to work. Are those arms turning out evenly? And down. Okay, let's step onto the back leg. Just pick up the knee. Can you swap legs? If you've got feet together, that's fine, you just stay where you are. But if you're in tandem, swapping feet and again making sure you're even through both feet. Okay, pulling up tall. Palms up, breath in. Exhale. Lifting that waist away from the hips, lifting the ribs, get that good core activation, squeezing the thighs together and lifting the pelvic floor. One last one. And release. Let's just pick up that front leg and step down. Let's give the shoulders a roll back and down. Okay, from there we are going to take feet together now. And this time we're going to hold the band facing downwards, fingers long, chin back. Now we're going to start with just a little pull out because I want you to see how that feels for your shoulders. Let's squeeze the inside of the knees together and pull up through the inner thigh, pelvic floor. Exhale. Now if that's feeling okay, could you add in a shoulder squeeze for me? So can you then pull round and think of pulling the shoulder blades together? So we pull apart, we pull round, chin stays back, ribs stay down. They might want to pop forwards. I want you to resist that. Exhale and keep those ribs down, keep the chin back. Breath out. Two more. Are you still squeezing those knees and lifting the pelvic floor at the same time, or have you just let that lower body switch off? Let's get it doing a bit of work. One last one. And release. Let's give those shoulders a roll. Fantastic. Right, from there, we're coming back to that leg being on the band and that slightly diagonal stance. This time you might want the band a little bit slacker, okay, a little bit more give in the band, and again we're going to hold it thumbs up, slightly on the diagonal. I'd like you to lift to shoulder height, just see how that feels. Did it make your elbow lock and you tensed up here? If you can you just keep that elbow soft and exhale, lift. Okay, so we're going back to that diagonal line. Okay, we're not going higher than the shoulder. I know, I just did. It's tempting. So we're going to there. Now, you can stay with this, or you could come back to that bicep curl if you'd rather. Could you start to add in that leg lifting as the arm lifts? So, pulling up on that standing leg. Can we exhale? and inhale. We're going to do 3 more. Let's do 2 more. Can you hold this last one? Let's see what happens. Can you pulse that leg up? 8, 7, 6. Are you stretching your toes? 4, 3, 2. Can you keep that toe off the floor? Pulse the arm. 8, 7, 6, 5. Are you lifting through that waist? 3, 2, 1. And in. Let's give that shoulder a roll. And we'll go to the other side. So remember, we don't want as much tension on as we did last time. Give it the tug test. Is it secure? Palm forward, thumb up. Leg on the diagonal. But your hips are still square. So we've not taken that hip with us. Hips are facing the front, so the ribs. Shoulder back and down. And we're lifting just up to shoulder height on a slight diagonal. I want a bit more tension. I'm feeling that's a little bit loose. Remember, you can do this without the band if you'd rather. Elbow is straight but not locked. We're leading with the thumb, which I don't normally tell you to do. As long as you're not pulling up through the shoulder, that's fine. Okay. Right, can we add that to the leg? So transferring onto that front leg, feel that pressure down through the floor, connect. Try not to lock the knee, knee's still soft. Okay, can we go into that lift? The more you pull up, the steadier you will feel. Strong breath out. We're going for 4 more. 3. Last 2. If you feel comfortable with it, can you hold and can you pulse that leg? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you pulse the arm? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And back in. Wonderful. Let's give that shoulder a roll. Okay, we're going to take the band now. We're going to step back to hip distance. We're going to have a little bit of a loop, a little bit of give in the middle. Okay, palms down. Remember, thumbs are free. We're not gripping with the thumb. Thumbs are just placed next to your fingers. We're going to take the band down. Shoulders wide and open. Chin back. Let's bring that band up. Can you open out? Exhale. Shoulder height. Does that feel okay? Can you bring it right into your collarbones? And down. Lift. Exhale. And down. If it needs to be lower, have it level with the bottom of your ribcage. So shoulder issues, please listen to your shoulders. We're going to do 1 more like this and then we're going to progress this. And down. Now you can stay there, you can carry on with that if that felt good. If you've got weights, remember you're holding them palm down for this one. Right. Let's take the feet together. Now we're going to be adding in some rotation. If rotation isn't appropriate for you, so certain spine issues, osteoporosis, osteopenia, can you stay hip distance for me and let your hips move and make this movement really small? Focus more on opening the chest than rotating. But if it is appropriate for you, let's come to feet together. Bring that band up now. This time we're going to open one arm, follow it, and turn. And in. Let's go the same way. Open out, follow that hand round. You might find that your hips want to move a little bit. Try and resist it and only let it happen at the very last moment. So we want that rib cage turning first. Then you can let the hips go a little, because it's impossible to get all that way around without them moving. Let's do one more this side. Opening out, follow that hand, rotate. And back. Now to the other side. See if it feels different, it might do. Rotate, can you feel that shoulder blade pull in towards the spine? Are your shoulders staying down? Is your jaw relaxed? And in, 2 more. Open out, follow the hand. Go as far as you can if it's safe. One last one. And back, bring it down, roll the shoulders. Okay, into tandem stance again now. Stay feet together if you'd rather. But let's pull up, zip those thighs together, lengthen out of the waist. That way your core will switch on and help you with that balance. Okay, palms down again. Now, same arm as leg that's forwards, that's the one we're moving. Let's open, can you turn? Exhale, squeeze those thighs together. And let's come back. Open. Rotate. And in, 2 more. But be very aware if you have labyrinthitis or another condition that affects your balance, following with your head in tandem might not be the best thing for you. Okay, let's come down, let's change feet. I need to step back onto my mat. Right, zipping up. Pull the thighs together, lift the pelvic floor, bringing the arms forwards, let's open and rotate. So the other arm, we're aiming to keep it still-ish, although usually because we're not looking at it, it's hard to know exactly what it's doing. 2 more. One last one. And down. Right, let's roll those shoulders again. We'll step back to hip distance. Well, let's just turn the chin over the shoulder. Stretch the neck. And centre. Over the other shoulder. And centre. Let's bring the chin back and down. Roll the ear towards the shoulder. Tuck down into the middle, roll to the other side. Into the centre, restack the head. Okay, fantastic. Right, what we're going to do now, I'm going to make a loop, but now I want my palms facing each other. So have the band across your palms, grip it with your fingers and just have your thumb resting on top. Now, you need to have a long enough band for this. We're going to step down, hip distance. Now we're going to stand onto one leg, pull up, so you're leaning over slightly. Pull that leg out, down, out. Watch for your standing leg locking the knee. Yes, you're leaning over because you are taking your centre of gravity onto that side. But we're not using it to counterbalance. Try and stay as upright as you can. One last one. And down. Transfer. We're still pulling up, so I'm not sinking into that hip. Pull up without locking the knee out. Pushing out to the side. Not really putting that foot down in between. Just tapping it to the floor, not stepping onto it. We're going to go for 4 more, and 3, and 2, and 1, and down. Okay, with the feet just a little touch wider, what we're going to do is just shorten the band. I want you to feel a bit more tension so that when you're stood, it feels like it wants to pull your shoulders down. Okay, remember you can do this without. So you are resisting. Don't let it pull the arms straight either or lock the elbows. Pull up out of that core. Now the arms are staying as they are. We're going to lose that tension as we send the hips back, come into a squat. Now push back up. Resist. So we're resisting, rounding the back. Now, are your knees feeling that? If they are you actually doing that hinge and sending your hips back before you bend your knees? That's really important. Get that hinge first, and then that will help to protect your knees. If it's still hurting, keep it a little bit smaller. I'm going to do one more. And up. Okay. Now, one last one we're going to hold, and we're going to pull back. So you're thinking of pulling your hands up towards your shoulders. The spine is long, so let's have that chin nodded, looking down at the floor. You're bending the elbows, pulling the band up towards your shoulders. Shoulders are open. Last two. And back up. Okay, let's cross that band over now, and we're going to hold it palms down. So you want the back of your hand facing away from you, standing tall, lifting out of the hips, because this is going to want to pull you down. Let's lengthen, switch on that core, and we're pulling from hands together, so you can do this with your weight, same position. We're coming up to the bottom of the ribs, and down. Elbows are going high and out to the side. Okay, so make sure you can see those elbows out the corner of your eye. We're not pulling those elbows round behind us. Are your little toes still down? Press them into the floor. Last one. Let's add that to a squat. Come down. Pull up. Now it might be tempting here, because we're adding in this resistance, to lean back as you come up. So see if you can resist that, and you'll know you're doing it because you'll have the band pulled against your body. So if you're not leaning back, that band should stay an inch or two away from your body. And we're pulling up really tall, core activating, toes are down. One last one. And up. And release. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to come down onto the mats now. I'm actually going to come down into kneeling. So kneel, half kneel. Okay, so ankle underneath the knee, hip over this knee, and just checking that your foot is straight out behind you. We're going to take that band. Could you loop it and pop it underneath your foot for me? Now we're going to bring it across so that it's in front of you, and we're going to hold it one potato, two potato. Okay, now just check that your hips are level and you can feel this hamstring is switched on. Press down into that front foot so this front leg is very active. Okay, can you feel it really switching on? So if you've got lazy hamstrings, this is amazing for you. Okay, so we're going to lift up. We're going to bring it in towards the chest and push it out. Exhale. Inhale. All the time we're growing taller and staying out of those hips. Two more. Now one last one. We need to push out, and now we're going to rotate. Can you take a breath in again for me? As you exhale, now you can keep going in and out if you'd rather. Exhale, just go past the knee. Keep that tension on the band. Hips are staying still. Keep pressing down through that front foot. Inhale, exhale. 2 more. Last one. And in and down. All right, let's take that band off and let's step that foot a little bit further forwards, and we're going to go into hip flexor stretch. Now, if you're normally a bit of a sway back posture, if I'm always telling you to bring your shoulders forwards over your hips and bring your hips back, you're just going to very gently move. But if this is appropriate for you, you're going to do quite a good stretch here, please. So particularly if you have a tilted pelvis forwards, if your hip bones tilt down and your back is very arched. So let's take that stretch forwards. Now, you could do 4 more of these for me, or if it's available to you, could you take your hands down, sit onto the side of the hip and stretch that leg away. Make sure your knee is on the floor, kneecap, rather than that leg rolled in. We're coming down, draw the shoulders back, lift the chest. So whichever version you're doing, this is your last one. So if you're here, you push back, and we're all coming up back onto both knees, ready to go to the other side. Let's grab that band. Let's come into kneeling, half kneel, ankle underneath that knee. Hips level. Well, let's get that band in before we level the hips, because things might change as we move, as they often do. Let's pop that band under and just give it a little bit of a tug test, that's fine. Okay, now, hips level. Hamstring on. I'm pressing down into that front foot. And again, let's go 1 potato, 2 potato. Can you have the other hand on top if you can remember? And let's bring that band up. Bring it in. Exhale. So as I push out and push that band away, I'm not letting the chest hollow. It's just pushing out. So I can feel it along the arms. We're going to do 2 more. Are you still pressing down into that front leg? One last one. Can you hold it here and take a breath in for me? Now as you exhale, can you turn over that front leg? Inhale, we're not going far. Exhale. And the more you pull up out of your hips, the more you lift your ribs away from your hips, the more you're going to feel that lovely switch on. Let's do 2 more. One last one. And down. Okay. Taking that band out. Again, coming to your hip flexor stretch. Whichever version was more suitable for you. Do you just gently mobilise if you've already got lengthened hip flexors? Do you need to take it deeper? Does your body like it if you come into this version of the stretch? If not, you see, knees might not like this. Knee issues, might want to stay away from pigeon. Just make sure that that back knee is on the floor, kneecap, and coming up. Feel that stretch. Let's just do 1 more. This is everybody's last one. And up. And then coming in. Right, from there, let's just take a sit back to the heels and let's come into a shell stretch. But what I would like you to do is come onto your little fingers and we're going to glide them out into a V, because I would like you to feel a lovely stretch all the way down the arms, down the sides of the body and into the hips. So take the fingertips onto the floor, nod the chin, start to curl down and glide the little finger forward. Feel that you're pushing that little finger away. Shoulders are still staying down.
reach away and breathe into the back. Breathe down the sides of the body and all the way to the hips. One more. And coming up. Okay, fantastic. Right, we're going to grab that band. See, I haven't even used my heavier band today. We will in a moment for some stretching. Right, you're going to take it palms down a little bit wider than your knees, and really we're just using it as a bit of a guide to follow now. Okay, now if your knees don't like this, I'm going to give you an alternative. So in fact we'll start with that. Could you come up onto your knees? We'll start with this version. Those of you who want to move on can. Just make sure your knees are under your hips and your feet are the same width. So let's take that band out in front. Now can you keep your shoulders over your hips, so no leaning forwards, that's going to be the temptation here. Can you sit towards your heels and push back up? It doesn't need to be big. Sit back and push up. Feel those glutes work. So as we sit back, lots of activation in those legs. We're sitting back. Definitely not leaning forwards with this one. Right, keep that going if you think your knees would prefer it. But if you can you come all the way down to your heels? Set the shoulders wide. Can you take a breath out and lift your bottom off your heels and hover? Leaning back a tiny bit if anything. Exhale. Now we've all got one more. And then all the way up. Oh, well done. Right, from there, I'm going to sit to the side. Now, if you've got a towel to use instead of your resistance band, we're going to come into a hamstring stretch now. So you can bring yourself safely down, spine issues, diastasis hernia, prolapse. If you haven't got strong abdominals yet, use your hands, support. Otherwise, if you can, if it's good for you, let's come all the way down. Let's bring one leg in and pop foot into the band. Now, if you get sciatic issues, take the band around your thigh instead, just behind the, just sort of below, above the knee it is, I suppose, but when your leg's up it's below, isn't it? Below the knee, onto the thigh. Right, so chin nodded, ribs down and pelvis neutral. Let's push that leg out and stretch it up. So I'd like you to aim for the ceiling. If flexing your foot feels good, if it doesn't bring on any symptoms, then let's flex that foot. Okay, straight knee, that's very important to get the whole of the hamstrings stretching. I'm just going to hold and breathe for a moment. Now, can you, if it feels good, push the ball of the foot forward, stretch the toe, and then flex. Push and stretch, and flex. Two more. One more, and you might find that this leg can now come a little bit closer to you. Miracle. Right, just lose that tension a little. Turn the leg inwards, so knee and toe pointing into the middle line of your body. Now take both ends of the band in the opposite hand and can you pull towards that shoulder. Make sure this hip stays down so we're not pulling up off the floor. Hips stay still, pelvis level. Pulling towards that shoulder. Breathe into it and then let's release. Okay. Let's turn the leg out and swap hands now. So you've got your knee and your toes pointing out that way, that's coming from the hip. And now we're pulling that leg over this shoulder, so same side. So we're going slightly out from the midline of the body. And then then let's release and relax, bringing the knees in. Now, any spine issues, abdominal hernia, you're going to take your feet down and swap over. Otherwise, if you can swap over mid-air, then that's appropriate. You do that. Let's pin those ankles down. Okay, we're going to push that leg out, push it straight. Let's keep that knee straight as we bring that leg up. So remember, if this brings on sciatic symptoms, take that band around your thigh instead. Let's hold and breathe into it. And then let's work that foot, only if it feels good. So if this brings on any twinges, any funny feelings in the leg, in the back, just keep the foot still. So we're stretching and flexing, but we're pushing into the ball of the foot rather than the toes. Let's do one more. Oh, it's pinged. I knew that was going to happen. Never mind. Right. Loosen the tension a bit, turn the leg inwards. Both ends of the band into the opposite hand. Let's pull up towards the shoulder. Breathing into it. Pelvis is still settled across the mat. Let's lose the tension, turn the leg out. And pull it out over the same side. So we've swapped hands as well. That's really important, because if you've still got it that way, it's going to be pulling the leg that way. You want to be pulling that leg slightly out. Okay. And then let's release, bend the knee in and take the feet flat. Okay, resting onto the little fingers. Make sure that pelvis is level, pubic bone and hip bone sitting in a level triangle. Now let's start to tilt. So if you had a marble here, you're rolling it towards your tummy button. I'd like you to think about drawing all those muscles in rather than just pulling in at your waistband. Let's come back to level. Now, can you keep this movement going for me? We're not forcing it. We're not squeezing the glutes. We're just using the tummy muscles as we exhale to tilt the pelvis. So osteoporosis, osteopenia, disc issues, and particularly any neck or shoulder issues, you are only going to come up to your bottom rib, no higher please. So we're going to tuck under. Let's press into the heels now. Push those heels into the floor and lift. So if you're only coming to here, you just come into here. Take a breath in, roll back down. Back to neutral. Roll that marble towards your tummy button. Push into the heels. Send the knees forward. If you're going higher, you're going to push those knees forwards rather than pushing back into your shoulders. Take a breath in. Exhale, curl back down. Can you get that segmental movement of the spine? Back to neutral. Let's do one more. Pushing forwards. Push, push, push through those heels. Breath in. And breath out, curling. Back down. From there, let's just take a little fascia stretch. Opposite arm to leg. If it's appropriate for you, sorry, need more room, to take that leg off the floor, you can lift, breathe in, reach out, and bring it back. Changing sides. Stretch out, lengthen. Little lift if it's appropriate. Down. And in. Now let's take the arms, palms up a little bit wider, step the feet a little bit wider, and let's turn the knees over one way and pull back up and over the other way. So just allow the body to relax into this stretch. Very good bit of internal hip rotation here. Internal and external. Shoulders are staying down, we're not letting them move. And back up. Now this this time. Let's bring the feet closer. Let's go over, but bring the arm with you. So we're rolling right onto the side and pushing up. Okay, from there, we're going to come up into standing. Whichever way is safe and appropriate for you, but if you could join me in a squat, remember a squat has a neutral spine, no flexion. We're not rolling up, it's a squat. Hands to the side of the knees. Let's push those heels down, lift the chest, neutral spine, pushing up. Okay, back to our good standing posture. Let's take that arm up and over. Let's reach out of the hip, inhale, and exhale. Over the other way, up and stretch, inhale. And exhale. One last one. Both arms, stretching up. And really reach those arms out wide, give the chest a good stretch. And down. And very well done, thank you for joining me this morning. I hope there was a lot of different things in there that you can take away from that. A lot of different ways to listen to the body and work with the body. Little modifications and progressions that you can add into any other practice that you are doing at home. So enjoy the rest of your day. Tonight is bar class at 6:30 p.m. if you'd like to join in with that. That would be absolutely wonderful. Take care. See you soon.